Warning. Society has deemed a number of conversation topics as rude to discuss in polite company. Luckily, those rules don't apply here. Welcome to Impolite Company. The host of Impolite Company, Chris Sear.
A hetegic. That's what you need is a hetegic. Like some people have a bug out bag or a go bag or a 3-day kit or an emergency valise, a crisis briefcase, a tragedy satchel. Sometimes you need a hetegic, a hastily thrown together emergency kit. That's what we've come. It's weird if I just start with things that are parts of other conversations, isn't it? It's kind of like that's probably not the best way to start. That's probably not the best way to keep your interest. It's a good, it makes you wonder what happens before we start hitting record, which maybe that's a good thing because that would keep you intrigued enough to keep listening to see if, we go back to that conversation. So how long could you survive? That's the question, basically. Do you have, if there's a disaster, if tomorrow the 2020 election were to happen, well, I don't know why the 2020 elections would happen tomorrow. They should happen in 2020 when they're scheduled. But let's say they happen tomorrow for some reason. And let's say Donald Trump doesn't win election because there might be a God perchance. Let's say that, President Warren is going to have to assume power in the Oval Office and Donnie doesn't leave. And the National Guard is called out, and the Marines are called out, and the armed forces have to each pick their own side. Like, who are you fighting for? The duly elected president of the United States or the usurper to the throne, Donald Trump? Whose side would you be on, military person? The military basically just follows orders, so really they should be on President Warren's side. But we've been hearing about the secret army of bikers and meth dealers and police officers. Those are all three pretty much the same profession. We've been hearing, don't get mad at me if you're a cop. I'm not saying you're a drug dealer. I'm saying you're like a drug dealer in that you operate outside the boundaries of the law for the most part, but with people ignoring all. That's not true. I guess police officers have a legitimate, sanctioned job, and drug dealers are operating in the black market. But who is less reviled? I guess that's who we figure out the most honorable. I don't know. That's a weird flex against police officers. But we know they're in Donald Trump's secret army, waiting to protect him should he be voted out of office. Let's say that the U.S. military has to go up against the Sons of Anarchy. Who wins? If you watch Sons of Anarchy, it's not as cut and dry as you think. If you're a student of the real world, if you're a student of U.S. military history, if you're a student of political science, if you're just a fifth grade student, you would come on to the conclusion very quickly. You would come to the conclusion that the U.S. military would just wipe out a biker gang that's there to protect the former president of the United States. You'd be like, yeah, that's a no-brainer. Force Recon Marines, overweight dude who rides a Harley that sells meth while idolizing Hitler. That shouldn't be that big of a fight. However, if you wrote the show Sons of Anarchy, you would get surprised to find out that the biker gang from Southern California is super organized and they're really good at warfare and they could take on the U.S. military because, all the way back to their Irish days, the Sons of Anarchy have been an army for justice. And that was a terrible Irish accent. I don't do accents well. But you would know if you watch Sons of Anarchy, they are capable of taking on the U.S. military, the CIA, the Medellin cartel. Like, it's amazing who they can fight. You're not defeating them, so maybe we are in trouble. But let's say that day comes, and then all of a sudden, that fighting doesn't just stay in Washington. It's not like Donald and Elizabeth just duke it out and the rest of the country is unaffected. No, that fighting goes to the street. Your neighbor down the block with the red hat on every morning, who walks out and like just cheerfully holds up their cup of coffee. That's not organic, fair trade coffee either. It probably came from a metal can, or now it's a red plastic tub. Can we talk about those red plastic tubs that they put Folgers in now are just the most useless? You only need one or two to use as water containers. After that, they're just pieces of plastic that don't really have a purpose. Old metal coffee cans, you need those. Those are for like putting in all of your junk that would go in the junk drawer, but instead you put in a coffee can and you stack them in the corner when they're full. Those metal coffee cans are for all your fingernail clippings that you save. So when you die, there's no piece of you that went to waste. It's all sitting right there waiting for reunification. Giant metal coffee cans were where you put your hair and your used tissues, each in separate ones. Not the same one, separate ones. And you would label them used tissues, March 1984 through April 1987. And you're like, that's one can for 3 years worth of tissues. It is, because tissues compress down. You just keep pressing them, just like when the trash can is about to be topped off. You just keep pushing down on the trash to make more room. You do that with tissues, and they keep making room. But that metal coffee can is so you could save those tissues. That way, when you die, you have every tissue you ever used in your life. Every piece of mucus that was discarded by your body is saved there, along with these little cotton, sometimes covered in lotion. Get the ones covered in lotion. Be nice to your nose. They're all right there. So if for some reason you need that used tissue that you had in 1991, it was the tissue you used when you got left at the 6th grade formal by your date, who didn't leave the dance, they just left you. Like, your mom picked him up, drove both of you to the school, let you walk in. Rump Shaker was playing. The DJ played Rump Shaker for 7th graders. What kind of DJ plays Rump Shaker for 7th graders? Rex and Effect was not made for 7th graders. But your mom dropped you off, and you guys were going to sit there, and you were going to spend a lovely evening together listening to other R&B and hip-hop favorites played on a PA system that might have a busted speaker. There's definitely something going on there. There's a constant buzz, and it's only in line with the bass line. Something's happening there. And you guys were going to go home together. Not together, because you're in 7th grade. You can't go home together. Like, you would have to get a hotel. You both live with your parents, and very few people will rent hotels with 7th graders. I'd like to tell you that no one would rent a hotel room to 7th graders. But this is America, home of capitalism. We know someone will rent a hotel room to 2 7th graders. In St. Louis, you can go out on Watson to one of the hourly hotels, and I'm pretty sure they will gladly rent a hotel room to 2 7th graders. They will ask you if you're in college, and the 7th grader was like, yeah, and like, clearly, here's your room, kids. Go make little kids. That's how you get little kids, is little kids have little kids. It's a genetic treatment. But you were going to be driven home together. Your mom would have gone through Sonic, gotten you each milkshakes before you dropped him off, and then went back and told your mom like the whole saga of the night, like all the dance details about the boys and the girls standing on opposite sides of the gym, about the 2 girls who did the first dance because they're like, well, screw this, we're already on the right side of the gym. You were going to tell your mom all of that, but instead, your date was like, hey, I'm going to go with that group over there. Those are my real friends. You stay here by the wall. And there you stood lonely. Lonely and crying. Lonely and crying and not knowing. But the thing is, that tissue that you cried into, you have that in a metal coffee can. And by switching to plastic containers, less structurally sound containers less likely to be found in the apocalypse by archaeologists after the apocalypse. Not in the archaeologists probably won't dig up too much stuff during the apocalypse, but afterwards they'll have to dig up all the remnants of our society. They'll want to reconstruct the world we lived in. All of those tissues you're saving, you'll need them. All those fingernail clippings will be important. If you put those in plastic containers that just melt away, what will they find? They'll find nothing. Your tissues will turn to dust. Your dreams and your hopes will be there among those tissues. It's important that we bring back the metal coffee can. But regardless, your neighbor down the street who has that red Make America Great hat on, he's drinking that cup of not instant, but it should be Folgers coffee. He's pounding that back. And he is now holding an assault rifle and yelling things like Rahowa, which is the racial holy war that white supremacists want. That's pretty much right in line with what Donald Trump thinks might be cool, I'm sure. But he's now holding an AK-47 or an M16. Probably not an M16. That's not a civilian rifle. An AR-15. And he's charging you, talking about how you're not taking Donald Trump out of office. And you yell back, man, we're in St. Louis. I can't even see Donald Trump from here. How am I going to pull him out of office? That day comes and shit hits the fan. And when you're at war, it's brother versus brother, sister versus sister, brother versus sister, brother and sister versus brother and sister. Two unrelated siblings fighting the same siblings on the opposite side. It's civil war. It's bedlam. It's mayhem. It's other words that ended him. And now you have to survive. Are you ready? Do you have a to-go kit? Do you have a bug-out bag? It's not hard. It's just a supply of drinking water or a filter so you can drink whatever water you find. Because if the rivers will run with blood, you'll need to be able to filter your water. Something to eat, some Cliff Bars, maybe an MRE. Like 3 days worth of food and water. Put in there a change of clothes, a first aid kit, a radio, right? Who does that? Solar phone charger, whatever. Do you have one of these kits? And if not, how quickly could you put one together? I was talking to Chris Gardner, who works the sound for me here and makes us sound like people and voices being broadcast through your mobile device. We were talking about how if you're hyper organized, if you're very organized, you can put together a kit very quickly. You probably don't need one just sitting around. If you can throw everything you need in a bag quick enough to get out of the door before the building crumbles to the ground, all good. That's perfect. Kudos to you. But what do you call that kit? What do you call that kit? I guess I just forgot what we called it. A highly technical, rapidly put together emergency kit? A Hatigagak? It's Impolite Company. I'm your host, Chris Sear. We have sponsors. I don't know why I'm doing that voice. You're not listening to Welcome to Night Vale. It's that they should sue me for that one. Like, there are times when I'm not sure who should sue me. Welcome to Night Vale, Mark Maron, like whoever I'm impersonating with my voice at that moment. Sam Elliot. I don't do a good Sam Neill. I don't. I can't remember what Sam Neill sounds like. He's in some good movies. It's not a critique of his career. It's not a critique of his acting skill. It's not a critique of his notoriety. I can't picture or audio hallucinate his voice enough to figure out how I would do a Sam Neill impression. But Sam Elliott should sue me sometimes, because there's sometimes I'm just in the microphone and I don't even know why I talk like this. This is not my normal register, but you know, Wyatt, I got to let you know. You know what's weird about the movie Tombstone is Sam Neill plays Virgil Earp, Wyatt Earp's brother. Not Sam Neill, Sam Elliott. God damn, stop with the Sam Neill versus Sam Elliott. Sam Elliott plays Virgil Earp, Wyatt Earp's brother. And when they all came into Tombstone, like they'd left Dodge City, and they left Dodge City under some shady circumstances. Like, we knew there was a shootout, but it was a police shooting where there was no video. So, you tell us what happened. Just went to a new town, though, just like nothing's changed. Involved in that shooting, goes to a new town, instantly hired in law enforcement again. But Wyatt and Virgil and the gang, they are, in the movie Tombstone, these are old men. Like, they're already old men in their 40s, and in Sam Elliott's case, they're 900s. Well, I don't care how old Sam Elliott is. He's a young man in my heart. But they're all like old men, like Viagra commercial old, crackly bones old. And I don't just mean Doc Holliday. Doc Holliday was older. He was also dying. So, but the Earp boys were all like in their early 20s during that. So you look at Sam Elliott as Virgil, and he's like 962, and like Virgil Earp was like 26, 25 or something like that. He was super young during that. It weirds me out when I see it. I don't know why I know that piece of history. I think it was the Time Life books series on the Old West, and the specific volume was The Gunslingers, which had nothing to do with the Stephen King book Gunslinger. Go figure. Drinking my LaCroix. We have sponsors. I said that, and then I got distracted. But we do have sponsors. It is important to know that we have sponsors. We have who we want to do first. I don't know. What are you guys in the mood for to talk about? Are you in the mood to talk about the Crow's Nest at 7336 Manchester in downtown Maplewood? We were there last night. I'm recording this on a Thursday. It doesn't matter when you listen to it. But I've got to refer to things when they happen in time and space, or I forget they happened. But we were there last night for Wildcard Wednesday Night Comedy. It's a live action comedy open mic that takes place every week in the front of the room. If you're a comic hoping to perform, show up at 10 o'clock to sign the list. If you're just a regular person who wants to see some jokey jokes while you eat a good meal because the kitchen's open till midnight, or drink a fine drink made by our lovely bar staff. Like, the people are just the salt of the earth. They are very good people. That you should let them make you drinks. Stop in on a Wednesday. Say hi to Wild. Stop in any day. You don't have to come out just for Wild Card. It's fun, but you don't have to come out for it. But stop in on a Wednesday. Stop in on a Tuesday. Stop in on a Friday. Doesn't matter. On the weekends, have Metal Brunch. The Crow's Nest, 7336 Manchester. Fortune Teller Bar in the Cherokee Business District. If you are looking for a place to chill out tonight with a craft cocktail made with our house-made bitters right there from the Bitters Lab, sit on one of the hippest blocks in the city of St. Louis. Fortune Teller Bar is your place. Stop in, get a cocktail, and if you look across the street while you're sitting there, you'll see El Chico Bakery, located on Cherokee near Texas. El Chico Bakery for 20 years has been your source for Mexican pastries, and every weekend fresh tamales made with love. Maybe. I don't know what people are going through when they make them. They're just made by people who experience the full range of human emotion. Then King Edward's Chicken and Fish at 8654 Watson. Stop in. I keep telling you to stop in. You could just visit. You don't have to stop in. You don't have to, these are destination places. You could just go straight to that place as your destination You don't have to stop in. You can just get out of your car, go in and eat. King Edward's Chicken and Fish, 8654 Watson. When was the last time you bit into a good, crispy piece of fried chicken? Are you sure that was a good, crispy piece of fried chicken? Maybe you should get some of our fried chicken so you have something to compare it to. King Edward's Chicken and Fish. My grandma, we did a birthday party for her over the weekend for her 80th birthday, 79th birthday, 81st birthday. Kind of confused about how old she is. Whatever. Be as old as you want. Nobody's going to force you to be older. But we took some King Edward's fried chicken for that party and instantly became the most popular people in the family. I'm all of a sudden back in everyone's will. Everyone loves me again. No one's like threatening to burn down my house or tell rude stories about me to the media. So King Edward's did that. Chicken bringing us together. And of course, Taco Circus, located at the corner of Schiller and Morganford. Taco Circus is the large building with the sign on it that says Taco Circus. If there's a building on it with the sign on it that says Taco Circus, just check and see if they're selling tacos. If they're not selling tacos, it's not Taco Circus. And ask them why the hell they have a sign on their building that says Taco Circus. Of course, I mean, you should stop in today I did the stop in today thing again. I need more phrases. Somebody sell me phrases. Give me a thesaurus. Visit us today at Taco Circus. Los tacos taste good. Los tacos taste good. I meant to say because tacos say good, but I said los tacos taste good. That's weird. Do you have like a collection of anything gross, like from when you were a kid all the way up to when you're an adult? Like, do you have a box with all your fingernail clippings in it? You don't have to message me and let me know. You don't have to tell me. But I am curious. Like, I always read about people who die and they're, end of sentence. But also, like, sometimes their relatives will be going through their stuff and they'll find those mason jars full of the weird shit. Like, full of every mustache hair that you plucked out by hand. Not the ones you just shaved off, but the ones that you cared enough about to pluck out by hand. I do that all the time. That is, like, if you want to talk about gross, like, obsessive behavior that you don't notice you do. Like, I know I've talked about pin clicking. Like, I am definitely the pin clicker. Hold on, I'm going to adjust this. I know I'm a pin clicker. I do that. That's for sure. But there's, like, other things I just didn't realize until I started paying attention and, like, doing these mindfulness exercises and things like that where you're just, like, aware of what, which are stupid. Like, you know what the worst thing you can be in today's world? Aware. Ignorance is bliss. 'Tis folly to be wise. No truer words were spoken or written, actually. Like, you know what I mean. But anyway, if I can look down with my eyes and see a facial hair like sticking off in a weird direction, I have to pull it out. I can't like just leave that facial hair alone. I also can't just like get some beard wax or something and like thumb it down or make it go the right way. I have to pull it out. I have to isolate that one hair that I can just kind of see with my eyes. And I mean, it's not like it's super long either. It's like I am giving myself a migraine trying to get my eye to like bend enough for me to see that hair coming down on my cheek. And when I see it, I'm like, okay, I got to pull that out. And usually it's right at the edge of my mustache, and I'll pull that out. I don't keep those. Like, I didn't mean to start that sentence as if like I have a jar of all of these little mustache hairs somewhere. But it would be interesting if that's what I did with them. Like, there's my little nervous tick. I pull those hairs out. What if I also had the hoarding mentality where I had to keep all those hairs or cars would crash somewhere? So what do you have one? Do you have a jar of that gross stuff? I think part of it is that I'm just not sentimental. Like I have every book I've ever owned if I haven't given it away or burned it. I do own like a lot of those. So I guess I do like have that hoarding mentality. But I'm not sentimental enough to like save a candy wrapper that a girl like used in 1974 before I was born. That's a bad year to choose. But you see what I'm saying. Like, so I'm not sentimental enough to do that. I'm probably not sentimental enough to need like every piece of flesh that's been scraped off my body. So maybe if that's an emotional thing, maybe that's why. Or whatever you get out of making sure that you have all the, I don't know, all the scabs your body's ever made. People, like, what gross stuff do you keep? Do you have it? I don't want to hear, like, your mayonnaise jars full of gross stuff. That's beyond the pale. You keep that one to yourself. But is there something else? I'm curious. I just want to know, like, when they find you all Howard Hughes, like, just shriveled up in a corner, albino white from never being in the sun, smelling like the 7 ill humors. Is it 7 of them? I can't remember. You know, it's humors, and then what's the opposite of a humor? I can't. Whatever. Smelling like bodily fluids. Smelling like gross. When they find you all Howard Hughes, like, just muttering to yourself, what are they going to find in your jars that are around you? Have you never washed your piss down the drain? Is it all there in the jars? I'm curious. I'm glad I don't have that tick. I would run out of space. I do keep metal coffee cans though. Like, it's been a while since I bought coffee that comes in a metal can. I'm not bragging. That's not like me telling you, "Oh, I've got money. All my coffee comes in vacuum sealed bricks." No, it's just the coffee I drink doesn't. I like coffee, man. Just, you know what? If you are upset by probably the amount of money I spend on coffee, it's because you've done something terrible with your life where that seems like a lot of money. Like, maybe you had a kid. That was probably the worst decision. No one becomes more joyless when it comes to, like, experiencing the pleasure of spending money on a quality product. No one is more joyless in that regard than a parent. I swear to Christ. Like, if I had $1 for every time someone has looked at the laptop case I use going, how much was that? And I'm like, that's a rude question. You should not be asking me how much my laptop case cost. Are you mugging me to sell it? But a lot. Like, and I'll sometimes tell them if it's like an honest inquiry, like I think they might want to buy one. But they never want to buy one. It's never like, oh, that's a good price for a quality bag like that. I think I'll go purchase one. It's never that. Instead, it's always like, wow, I remember back when I could spend that kind of money on something like a laptop case. But now I'm a parent, and I'm an enlightened human being who realizes that raising up a new, young human life is way more important than material possessions. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't know, it's a nice bag. My bag's providing me a lot more pleasure than your kid is providing you, I hope. Like, I'm way happier with the bag than I would be with your 5-year-old. But it's always a parent. Like, it's always someone like, or if it's not a parent, it's your friend who can't keep a job. Right? Like, we've all got that friend. That friend who, like, you'll post on Facebook because you're happy you got them. I just got tickets to see Hamilton, and it was only $190 a piece. So for $380, I had to do the math. For $380, me and my boo are going to go see Hamilton. It's going to be real fun. And then, you know, you get that one joyless friend who's been fired from, like, every minimum wage job you could have, who's done time in prison for, I don't know, probably kiting checks. Like, just writing. Kiting a check, I think, is where you write a check and, like, it might not bounce, but it might, like, you're writing it while your bank is zero balance, and you're like, well, I'll cover it before the check clears. You can't do that now because all checks clear electronically. But it used to be when you wrote a check, you had a good week and a half before it showed up in your bank account. So if you got paid on a Friday, you could write out some checks on Tuesday, get yourself some cash, go have a good time. But anyway, that friend, the friend who, like, can't manage money for shit, will post, like, in the same thing going, for some of us, what you spent on Hamilton tickets is our monthly grocery bill. Thank you. It's like, why? What's your point? What were you pointing out in that? That A, you eat, like, the wrong stuff. Like, I don't know. $380, $60, whatever I said it was. If that pays your grocery bills for the month. You should buy better groceries. Like, I don't know. Don't have kids. But there's always that one or two joyless people who just got to point out like all the ills in the world that can be fixed for the money you spend on your. That's me and coffee. But I get it. That's what I'm saying. Don't be that person in regards to my coffee. I could give you the Quentin Tarantino coffee speech. Like if I really wanted to do the thing where I narcissistically give myself the best lines of a movie so I could deliver them in a way that portrays me in the aspirational aspect that I've always tried to project out into the world, and let me be known for that instead of my true insecure self, which is why I make these movies where I fetishize African-American culture because I was raised in a place where there was no culture of my own. Man, that's a deep analysis of a man I've never met. And I love Tarantino. That was rude of me. Like, don't at me, Quentin. But if you were, like, I'm not giving you that speech. I do spend some money on coffee. The coffee I buy is usually in a brick. And when you pop the bag open, you hear that little... And it's not a brick anymore. It's like a bunch of loose grounds just held in this very sturdy foil bag, like a condom for ape gods. That's what this bag has become. It's like if you're a 30-foot gorilla god here to deliver, what do you call it? Here to deliver angelic justice to a tribe of warriors who have been in the north for months hunting the great bear of the north, and they emerge from the trees all covered in wolf skins and axes made out of tiger teeth. These are weird woods. So weird jungle where wolves and tigers and I don't know, gorillas all live together, but I'm sure it happened somewhere in France. But that's what this bag is like now, but also the smell. Like usually it's Bustelo. I really like Bustelo Cuban-style coffee. It is not Cuban coffee, obviously, because God forbid you should be able to buy a Cuban product, man. They once talked about communism. Oh, but Chris, they also try to put nuclear missiles right off the coast of America and try to scare us into accepting them as real people. Ooh-hoo. Boo-hoo. It was 3 days in October, man. It didn't even result in an actual nuclear war. Please don't talk to me about how scary the Cuban Missile Crisis is. You know what? They say close only counts in horseshoes and nuclear bombs. We weren't even close, man. They didn't even drop one. That's like, I don't know, being afraid of the Cuban Missile Crisis is like being afraid of getting cancer every day. It's like, yeah, it's a thing that didn't happen, man. It could have. The barbarians were at the gate. But it didn't. So don't at me with your Cuba shit. We should definitely be able to buy good sandwiches. I like a good Cuban sandwich too. I don't know who has the best Cuban sandwich in St. Louis right now. Boogaloo has a good one. They're not sponsors, so I shouldn't. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a good one. My favorite Cuban sandwich used to be at a small taqueria. Actually, it was more like a catering counter in the back of a Mexican grocery store. It's gone now. It doesn't exist. But it was a good. They had a good Cuban sandwich. You could get that every day with a jarrito and some nopales, and it would be good. That's cactus. You're eating cactus, man. How badass is that? Bo Diddley, I think, had a line in a song about eating a cactus and having a rattlesnake for a belt. That's you're that kind of person if you're eating cactus. It was boiled. It didn't have spikes in it, but you don't have to tell people that. You just keep that right there. I don't know how I got onto the subject of that. Oh, because of coffee. Yeah, so it's usually Bustelo, Cuban style coffee. It is coffee, but my friend, it is very smooth. It's very nice, but it's not from Cuba because you cannot buy from Cuba. That's my Ruben Blades impression, from Fear of the Walking Dead. I love the way the dude talks. In the movie The Advocate, he talks he talks a little like that too. It's just a nice musical voice, even as he's telling Magneto, whatever Magneto's real name is, I forget. but he's telling Magneto, he's like, the story about how Magneto's like a lawyer who has shady clients and gets caught up in stuff and hijinks ensue. But at some point he goes to Ruben Blades' character, who's like a government official who's connected, to ask him to help. And Ruben Blades just like, he's telling him like, man, they're going to cut off your head. But he does it in this sweet way. Like, it's just very comforting. He's like, I'll tell you a story about a man in a village. A man in a village who had like no problems. He was a very happy man, except he had a piece of wire around his neck. And like the man was so happy, the sun was up. He had an alpaca out back, and someone pulled the wire real tight, and his head fell off. And the man died, and he died happy. And I'm like, I don't know if you're threatening me, man, or just like comforting me to sleep, but I need you to talk. So then when he shows up on Fear the Walking Dead, he does the same thing. Like, he's from El Salvador and not Mexico in it. And he's a jazz singer in real life. Like, he's an actor, but he also sings jazz. So he's just got that jazzy kind of voice. He's like, the dead, they came back. They bid us, my daughter, she's crazy. She's in love with this boy who marries zombies. I don't know. And I'm like, oh, I want to hang out with you. That was also a bad Ruben Blades impression. But that's who I try. Not Blade, but Ruben Blades. Blades. I don't know how you pronounce it. He's a good actor. That's not, like, he doesn't sound like in my head, I sound like him. But in real life, I probably did. Anyway, Cuban-style coffee. And that's usually what I'm on. So it doesn't come in a can anymore. But when it used to come in a can, I always kept the can. I still have most of the cans. They're not full of my tissues. They're mostly empty, like, because I might need them someday. They disappear slowly. I have a feeling someone's throwing them away without me knowing. Man, it's just, I don't know. It's good to be unsentimental about things, but you should keep coffee cans because they're practical. They're useful. They'll survive the wars. They'll survive what's coming. I had fun last night. I got to host the Comedy Academy graduation for Helium's comedy class they offer over there. It's, if you've never tried, I think it's 6 weeks, 7 weeks, something like that. It's a course where you go each week and you'll hang out with a professional comic who will give you tips for like putting together your first set. And then at the end, there's a student showcase. It's just like improv or taking piano or whatever. It's like a recital where you get to invite your friends and show them what you've been working on. And I got to be the host for that last night, so I got to do some time up front and then introduce and get to meet all the people who took the class. And it was fun watching people be so enthusiastic about stand-up comedy and the chance to do it. When you get jaded, it's like, I mean, it's a job. It's like when you are at your job each day, you don't go in super pumped to well, maybe you do. If you do, everybody hates you. Let's get this straight right now. If you're listening to this and you're the kind of person who is super happy to be at work every day, like you get to work and it's like, guys, we're going to make this a great day. Oh, down here at Willie's Widget House, we're just going to make the best widgets. If you're that chipper every day, everyone hates you. And I'm not trying to be mean. I don't like kicking a puppy. I like to hold a puppy. I like to go to bed and have a puppy snuggle next to me. I like to sit in my favorite chair and have the puppy like try and push me out of my favorite chair and take the spot where I was sitting so it could have the warmth. And then it laughs at me while I'm sitting on the floor, and I didn't realize that puppy was even strong enough to dislodge me from the chair. I like puppies to do that. I don't like to kick them. So I don't go around doing it. And that's what this feels like, is to take you, Mr. or Mrs. non-gendered person, you happy at work person, and let you know that everybody hates you. And while that's harsh, that might be considered slightly emotionally cruel, I feel like it's good, though, because now you'll go into work today a little less happy, and then they'll start liking you. Because misery loves company. And Paul Sheldon, the author. That was a stupid Stephen King joke. The other day, I couldn't remember Paul Sheldon. I was very mad. I was at a show, and it was an open mic, so don't ever talk to the stage during an open mic. But there was a conversation between the stage and the audience going, and somebody mentioned the book Misery. And I was like, yeah, like Paul Newman in Misery. And I was like, none of those words made sense. And then somebody was like, Chris, it's Paul Sheldon. That's the author's name. And I was like, shit. I'm going to lose my Stephen King superfan status. So misery loves company. Don't be that happy person at the office. You should stop. But if you are the happy person at the office, I derailed myself. Anyway, you're at your job. You're not super enthusiastic to be there every day. Like you like the job, or you would go do something else unless you're trapped in it because you have no other marketable skills, which I feel for you if that's the case. I'm not. I'm a dilettante. I have a little bit of skill in a ton of different areas, so I could fake my way into most things. So if I don't like a job, I'll go get a different one. You're much better at your job than I am at mine, so just comfort yourself with that. But so when you get into the weeds of any kind of performance gig, though, like any kind of performance career, you're always doing the technical aspects of it. So you forget that there's like a joy that just comes with worrying about performing. And all these, I can't call them kids. Some of them are my age and older. But all these baby comics coming out for their first set. It was obvi totes adorbs. Like obvi, I'm expanding my vocabulary to include like real words. And I don't know. I thought it was neat. I got to watch it. It was like the audience was fun. Everybody laughed at their friends. I did have to like break it to them. I was like, now guys, if you keep doing comedy, you should know 6 months from now, none of these people are going to come see you. So get it while you got it. I don't know. Convince some of them to sleep with you. They were cheering for you. Go do it. Not that that's like the end goal of being a performer, is to just have people in the audience sleep with you. The end goal is to have the audience continually thinking about sleeping with you enough to where they spend money on the things you want to sell them. That's the goal. Actually sleeping with the audience, that's up to you, man. This is Missouri. We have very high incidence of syphilis, so wrap it up. Possibly with that foil bag that your Bustelo comes in. Bustelo is not a sponsor of my show. You can get it in K-Cups, which I think defeats the purpose of the Bustelo. Bear with me. I don't know why we're going to talk about coffee. This is an Impolite Coffee Break with Yale Hollander, which you can hear on Friday mornings, afternoons-ish, whenever I click the button. Look, I'm bad at scheduling. Like, I thought I scheduled something for 6:30. Anyway, the point is, you can get Bustelo in K-Cups, which a K-Cup like cooks coffee really fast. It doesn't give you a deep roasty taste unless there's like some serious oil on the coffee or something that can get it. And if you run the Keurig Corporation and you want to argue with me about the quality of Keurig cup coffee versus what you can produce in a French press, I dare you. Call me. We will Skype this conversation and let the world hear the bullshit you're slinging. And I say that as a customer of the Keurig Corporation. Because in the morning, I don't have time for a French press. I don't have time for my coffee to taste good. I don't have time for my coffee to be bearable. No, I need my coffee to be watery and almost coffee flavored. So I use a Keurig too. Well, you can get Bustelo in a Keurig cup, which when you make Bustelo, it's a strong roast. It's a hearty smell. It's a firm handshake to your gut when you drink it. It's like when you drink that, it's like someone inside took a giant fist and made it in your stomach and said, yeah, this is coffee. And I don't know why your stomach uses that voice. That's between you and it. It's got some issues. But like so you got to, like, when you pour it into your French press, you got to let it sit for a little bit longer. You got to make sure it steeps right. You want a full body taste. You can't get that from a Keurig. So when you take that brilliant, rich taste and you put it into a K-Cup where the water flows through it, like the water's 190 degrees, and it's just flowing through in like a minute 30 tops. Like, it doesn't take long to make a cup of Keurig coffee. There's no way that's full-bodied. There's no way that's a rich taste. Instead, it's a very poor taste. It tastes like you took somebody's coffee cup who had a little bit of good coffee in it, added some hot water, and said, look, I'm drinking coffee too. and everybody just let you because they already saw you eat out of the trash can. So, that was really rude. Anyway, that's what I drink. So I don't have metal coffee cans. Metal coffee bags, though, and only because I don't carry the recycling out to the trash like as much. Mostly because recycling is bullshit. Like, and I've decided in the city of St. Louis, they're not really recycling. They're probably just taking our recycle bins to the same landfill they took all the trash. That's why they're only emptying our recycle bins once a month now, apparently. I could never take the recycling out. I always do the same thing when I drive home. I drive down my alley and I look at the trash cans to see if they're full. So if they're not, I can like think about taking the trash out when I get into the house. And if they are full, I've got a good excuse to be like, hey, I couldn't take the trash out. Trash can's full. Well, lately, I haven't had to lie about that as much as I usually do. Like, it used to be no one else would check. Like, if I said, honey, I can't take the trash out. The trash cans are full. She'd just accept it. She'd be like, okay, yeah, that probably happened. And I wouldn't actually have to check. I would just assume. Now, though, I drive down the alley constantly, and the trash cans are full every time. Like, what's going on, man? I just paid my property tax. I think at least for the first 6 weeks after I pay my property tax, I think you should be forced to at least pretend you're going to pick my trash up regularly. My property tax doesn't even pay for trash pickup in St. Louis anymore. We pay a separate trash picking up fee if you own a house, which I do. Technically, the bank owns my house, but let's get into it. You should send the trash bill to the goddamn bank. That's what you should do. City of St. Louis, Mayor Lyda Cruson. Mayor Lyda. Your name's Lyda. That's weird to me, too. And Cruson just always makes me think of St. Patrick's Day parades. That's, I don't know. That's probably, might be a little racist. I don't know what an ethnicity Cruson is. If it's a marginalized population, I'm sorry I made fun of it. Hopefully it's just generic white people names so I can make fun of it the rest of your life. Hopefully I don't have to. But anyway, that's what we should be doing. Let's charge the bank for my trash pickup. They own the house anyway. They have a vested interest in make sure I don't fill it up with trash. For all the bank knows, I could have taken a jackhammer, dug myself a 5-foot by 4-foot hole in the basement that goes down about 8 feet, and I could just be slowly filling that in with trash. And then when it gets full, I put some concrete over it, I move 4 feet over, and I dig another one down. And then if I hit the main drain out to the street, if I accidentally jackhammer into that, oh well, I'll just start pumping water down it constantly to keep it flowing clean. I've got plans. I know how city sewer engineering works. I know how basements work. Maybe that's what I'm doing with my recycling and my trash, just all of it, since it's not getting picked up as often. It's a hyper-local subject, like the trash in my neighborhood. But maybe you have the same problem. Maybe I'm giving you ideas. Maybe you were like, well, they're not picking up my trash every day either. I should build a trash pit in my basement. You can. And you keep that smelling good. It's in your basement. You just put dryer sheets on top of it. Every time your trash pit smells a little, you just put more dryer sheets on it. Dryer sheets fix everything. Dryer sheets smell like a good IPA. They hide the smell of decaying corpses. If you put it in your suit bag when you're traveling, it keeps static from building up. You can stack 2 suits in your suit bag. Sorry, I made a wet, sticky mouth noise there. If that's going to bother you, it's going to bother you. But you take 2 suits, you put them in a suit bag, and normally the problem will be the 2 wool suits or, all right, look, I know who I'm talking to. The 2 polyester blend suits. Buy a wool suit, by the way. It breathes so much more. It sounds like it's super warm and scratchy. It's not. It's the best feeling in the world. It's like wearing pajamas that look dope. You should own a wool suit. Stop buying the cotton poly blends. The rayon. Who the fuck wants to dress in rayon? You monster. Anyway, if that's all you can afford, that's fine. But, go borrow some money. Get a payday loan to get a good suit. And then just default on the payday loan. Here's the trick. Never mind. I won't tell you to do that. That's probably illegal. But like you take the two suits, you put them in a suit bag. It used to be they would rub together, create some static issues. Then you'd have socks cling into your suit. You'd be on a television commercial about static clean. It was bad. But if you put those two suits in a suit bag together and put a dryer sheet between them, they rub the dryer sheet. And the dryer sheet takes away static electricity. I don't know how. Something to do with moisture. Maybe it's something to do with the dryer sheet's texture, the weave on it. I'm not a scientist, but I know it works. That's awesome. If you travel a lot and you got to bring back dirty clothes because you don't want to pay the hotel an exorbitant amount of money to clean your clothes before you just pack them up to come back home from your work trip, you take a dryer sheet and you put it in with your dirty clothes. And now your suitcase doesn't smell like it's full of dirty clothes. I mean, hopefully you're not doing anything super strenuous when you're on I guess if you're on a family trip, your clothes are getting kind of gross. I know when I was in Mexico, man, the clothes always just immediately drenched in salt, just from sweating it out. So, it was hot when I was there. So yeah, but a dryer sheet would hide the smell of that if it builds up. That's important. You need that. All this stuff. If your hair's going crazy, you rub a dryer sheet on your hair and it straightens it, gets rid of the flyaways, makes you smell like lavender. Who doesn't want to smell like lavender? If you have intimacy area issues, you rub it with a dryer sheet. The dryer sheet lifts off the various oils, bacterial secretions, and other things that have built up in your genital area, and instead leaves a nice coating of fabric softener behind, which is good for your skin. It smells better for whoever's face is down there. There's a whole lot of reasons you would use a dryer sheet on your genitalia. A dryer sheet, if you've got a patch of skin that suffers from eczema, you rub it with a dryer sheet, nothing happens, but at least it's comforting. There's no cure for that. If you have lymphedema, you wrap the swollen leg with a dryer sheet, you go to sleep overnight and wonder why you bothered. Nothing cures that. But if you have chapped lips, you could rub a dryer sheet on your lips and it tastes really bad and you're going to have a soapy kind of aftertaste the rest of the morning. But there is enough fabric softener on it to where it does soften your lips. Just like chapstick, but with digestive issues later. Although if you ate chapstick, you'd have digestive issues too. Yeah, no, the coffee I drink doesn't come in coffee cans. Which is probably, maybe that's I don't know, but I have enough empties it should. I would say the lack of coffee cans in my life might be why none of them are filled with my fingernail clippings. But who knows, really? Who knows what the switch is in the brain, in the human mental genome? Who knows what switch it is that makes you start doing that? Who knows, why you would have saved all the toilet paper you used in your life? There's different reasons. Some of it could be religious. You could be waiting for the rapture, and you're going to be reunited with all those body parts. That'd be one long fingernail. If your fingernails reassemble themselves in the rapture, when Christ blows his trumpet to call you back home and you're going to meet him in the air and all your body parts come from, the liver you donated to that guy in Toledo just burst through his body to fly through the sky to smack into you, followed by all your fingernail clippings from that coffee can under your bed, and they all just start reforming. Those are going to be long. You're not getting into heaven. They're not going to let you into heaven with 9-foot fingernails on each finger. That's a hazard, and you look like a demon, man. And they're very prejudiced in heaven. You got to be pretty to get in, and that's not going to help. So that'd be weird. I don't know. Something to think about. While you're thinking about it, you can follow us on social media. Impolite STL on Twitter, Impolite STL on Facebook, ImpoliteCompany.com. Holy crap. It's the whole internet was made just to help with promotion and not for information distribution to the masses in order to subvert the power dynamic that those with authority have enforced upon us, where they control the flow of data to the people. Instead, no, it's about marketing. Yeah, definitely. Go to my website, download this episode and others. If you work in an office where everybody has a computer on their desk and a lot of people forget to lock those computers when they walk away to take a shit, go ahead and while you're looking at their computer, download our show to their computer. Download it to every device you see. If you're arrested tomorrow and you're in a police car and you can reach the laptop in the front seat, just dive up there, pull up my website, and download the shows before they shoot you. They're going to shoot you anyway. You might as well help me while you're being shot. And I'm sorry you're being shot. I wish the police would respect human life more. But if they're not going to, at least I can have the download numbers, right? I think that's fair. Yeah. Hey, man, I talked for 53 minutes. You would have thought in the course of all of that, I would have thought of at least one thing to use as a catchphrase, but I didn't. I have no catchphrase. # no gods, no masters. I'll see you on the flip side. Peace out.